Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse will testify at a U.S. Senate Banking Committee hearing on crypto market structure. The hearing, scheduled for July 9th, will include key industry voices and focus on a major piece of legislation aimed at fixing the confusion over how cryptocurrencies are regulated in the U.S. The bill, introduced last month by Senators Tim Scott, Cynthia Lummis, Bill Hagerty, and Thom Tillis, seeks to define when a crypto token is considered a security or a commodity. This distinction matters because the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, regulates securities, while the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, oversees commodities. Garlinghouse's participation in the hearing is especially significant, not just because of Ripple's high profile, but because Ripple and its token XRP have long been at the center of this regulatory confusion. Brad Garlinghouse will not be the only one testifying. Other witnesses include Summer Mersinger of the Blockchain Association, Jonathan Levin, CEO of Chainalysis, and Dan Robinson of Paradigm. But Garlinghouse stands out due to Ripple's long-running legal battle with the SEC and its broader relevance to the market structure debate. Attorney John Deaton, who has closely followed the Ripple SEC case, strongly supports Garlinghouse's inclusion. He tweeted, "No better example than Ripple and XRP regarding both lack of clarity and confusion between agencies." Deaton points to a decade-long pattern that shows Ripple trying to comply with U.S. regulations and getting contradictory messages in return. Back in 2013, Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen met with the Federal Reserve, the SEC, and the U.S. Treasury to explain XRP and how the XRP ledger works. In 2014, the U.S. Government Accountability Office referred to XRP as a virtual currency. Then in 2015, Ripple was fined $700 million by the U.S. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, over a sale involving Roger Ver. As part of the settlement, Ripple agreed to comply with banking laws. Importantly, Deaton notes that FinCEN and the SEC had an information-sharing agreement at the time, so the SEC had full access to Ripple's activities. Yet despite this, in 2020, the SEC filed a lawsuit claiming that Ripple had been offering XRP as an unregistered security since 2013. Between those years, Ripple had several meetings with regulators. According to Deaton, Ripple executives even met with the SEC in August 2018, just after the infamous Hinman speech, where former SEC Director William Hinman said Bitcoin and Ethereum were not securities. But in that meeting, the SEC did not mention any legal concerns about XRP. That's where the confusion deepens. The SEC says XRP is a security. But in 2019, the Financial Stability Oversight Council, FSOC, a group that includes the SEC and the CFTC, called XRP a virtual currency in an official report. That same year, Coinbase applied to list XRP and informed the SEC. The SEC didn't object. Coinbase went ahead and listed XRP, describing it as useful for cross-border payments. Also in 2019, MoneyGram disclosed to the SEC that it would use XRP in its operations. Again, the SEC raised no objections, despite knowing that MoneyGram would resell XRP on secondary markets. And outside the U.S., the story is even clearer. XRP is traded on more than 200 global crypto exchanges, and regulators in multiple countries classify it as a non-security. So why did the SEC decide to sue Ripple in December 2020, alleging that all XRP transactions for the past 7 years were actually securities transactions? That's the kind of inconsistency Garlinghouse is likely to highlight at the Senate hearing. For the crypto industry, this hearing isn't just another Washington event. It could be the start of long overdue regulatory clarity. If Congress can define which tokens are securities and which are commodities, it would finally allow projects like Ripple to operate under clear, consistent rules. Right now, as the Ripple case shows, companies can be told one thing by one agency, only to be sued by another a few years later. Brad Garlinghouse's testimony is expected to bring attention to these contradictions. Whether they will push lawmakers to act remains to be seen. But for now, all eyes are on July 9th. Thanks for watching. Stay informed and always read between the headlines.